Now it's time.
Assalamu
Walaikum.
The hour has arrived that we begin our services. Let us stand and take position of prayer. For those that's not familiar, we stand erect, hands in this manner, feet at a 45-degree angle, heads slightly bowed. You can repeat to yourself after me. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the day of judgment in which we now live, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Thee do we serve, and Thine aid do we seek. Guide us on the right path, the path of those whom Thou hast bestowed favors, and not on the path of those whom Thy wrath has brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard Thy teachings. Say He, Allah is one God. It is He whom nothing is independent, and He whom we all depend. He neither begets nor is He begotten, and there is none like Him. Now bear witness that none deserve to be praised but Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And we bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is His last and greatest apostle. Amen.
Amen.
May be seated. In the name of Almighty God, Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all holy praise is forever due, and in the name of His true servant, His last and greatest apostle, our divine leader, teaching guide, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, do I greet my brothers and sisters in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
For those that are not familiar with the greeting, Assalamu alaikum, it means peace be unto you.
Yes, sir.
It's in the Arabic language, which is our original language.
Mm-hmm.
The response that some of you gave was wa alaikum salam, which means, and to you,
Peace also.
So we wish a greeting of peace for our brothers and sisters, and they return that greeting to us. It's
Yes,
the
sir.
same greeting that the Christians didn't know that Jesus gave to those apostles when He came in contact with them.
Yes, He did.
He used the English language when they were given. He says, peace be unto you.
Mm-hmm.
But we speak it in Arabic, meaning the same thing.
Exactly.
Assalamu alaikum.
Mm-hmm.
Coming here to Muhammad's temple is the best place that a black man and woman and their children can come.
Yes, sir.
Because this is the only place in the hills of North America that Almighty God has established for His chosen people, the black man and woman who formerly were slaves and their offsprings, to bring into them the light of truth.
Yes, sir.
Brothers and sisters, we're living in the day that has been foretold to come.
Right.
This is the day of judgment.
Yes, sir.
Some will say, I don't see no judgment going down, but that's only because you're not familiar what's to be expected and what's to look for this day and time.
Exactly.
This is the day of truth.
Mm-hmm.
This is the day it's spoken of in Revelations,
Mm-hmm.
when the revealing of all things is transpiring.
Right.
When you come into this little humble abode, you find that on the outside there is no great, magnificent painted building,
Mm-hmm.
no major brick structures being done with it. You don't have no steeple up on top. You don't have no, what you call them windows, stained glass windows that big edifices tend to have,
Mm-hmm.
to show that they are representing something of power.
Right.
No, this is a humble establishment.
Yes.
And some say in all your things that you need to be is be humble. You know, you don't need to be all expressive and arrogant, forceful. All of those type of things not necessary.
Right.
But humility and humbleness is one of the things that's most respected.
Yes, it is.
All praises are due to Allah. As we say, when you come into this facility, you find that there's a practice that's going on that's unlike any other place you have ever gone.
True.
When it deals with religion.
Yes, sir.
But you see it being duplicated now greatly in businesses,
Yeah.
and establishments, and
Mhm.
government facilities.
Mhm.
Even now, some churches, and that is a search procedure.
Yeah.
You know, and even in the schools now, they got these little gates that you walk through.
Mhm.
If you're carrying some metal object on there, you get the ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. You understand?
Yes.
Even in the schools. But it's a practice that has been taken up because of the security that Almighty God's messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has put in place for we, the black people here in the hills of North America.
Right.
This is because we know the world that we've been living in.
Yes, we
We
do.
know the atmosphere that we're coming out of.
Mhm.
And now we're coming into an atmosphere that's designed to maintain a peaceful state of being.
Yes, sir.
So when you come in, you first must undergo, I say must,
Mhm.
undergo a physical search procedure.
Right.
it should not be anything strange to black people.
Right.
Because as soon as you roll out the car, the police said, get them on the wall. And we have to be physically searched. But here we physically search you for the purpose of making sure that there are no weapons being brought in.
Right.
There's no paraphernalia being brought in.
Right.
There's nothing that's coming in that's going to be conducive to our atmosphere that's not what we want.
Exactly.
So we want to establish a peaceful atmosphere
Right.
and to ensure that it is just that.
Peaceful.
Where you can come into and be at peace and don't have to worry about the man behind you carrying a knife or a gun or something else, drugs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We make sure that stays outside.
Yes, sir.
Oftentimes we don't have to take things from people.
Right.
Because the word is out.
Right.
If you go to Muhammad's temple, you will be searched.
Right.
And the example is for those who have gone to a facility where Muslims are being represented there did not get searched. You look at this situation with Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Get your hand out of my pocket. You create a disturbance, and the next thing you know,
You
you're
gone.
squeezing the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a case where they got away from doing the
But they should have.
program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Courtrooms now do the same thing. Search it when you go in,
Mhm.
because that's how judges have gotten killed.
Right.
That's also, thank you, brother. That's also how.
Mhm.
Ooh, brother says, I heard gunshots down the hill, and we do hear that kind of thing going on in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was just a few blocks away that state police officer got killed a
Yeah.
year ago.
Yeah.
Why? Because our people are living in a world.
Oh, hell.
The brother said hell, and that's a good description of it.
Do that.
All praises due to Allah, but they don't bring that up in here.
Yeah.
And those who are familiar with what we do know not to bring it here.
Exactly.
Because we will send it back out. We'll take it from you, whatever necessary.
Mhm.
You don't bring that here.
Right.
The physical search is done on women
Mhm.
and men
Right.
and children.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
That's right.
you've seen incidents where they smuggle drugs in the baby carriage with the baby. But we ain't having none of that.
No,
We're
sir.
not here to enforce the laws of the land, but we're here to enforce the laws under the guidance
Of Islam.
Elijah Muhammad.
Exactly.
So we do what he said do it.
Yeah.
We say it the way he said. Those who choose not to comply with the program, they're welcome to
Go.
exit the building.
Yes, sir.
All praises due to Allah. When you come into the auditorium, you see a setup that's different.
Mm-hmm.
You see brothers on one side of the room seated, sisters on the other side.
Right.
People want to know, why are you separating us?
Mhm.
Well, I go to the church and I sit any way I want. Well, number one, you're not in the church. This is a whole different atmosphere.
It sure is.
With a whole different program.
Yes, sir.
But separating you for a few moments is to give both of you an opportunity to learn something that you may never have heard before.
True.
Oftentimes people have heard bits and pieces of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But you don't get the real deal, as they say, until you come into the house.
Right.
And when you come into the house, you'll learn that you separate because it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, brothers are attracted to sisters, and sisters are attracted to brothers, and they're attracting to each other.
Right.
But those few moments that you spend separated is to give you an opportunity to focus your mind on the information that's being presented. For many, the very first time.
Right.
For some, they've heard it time and time again.
Mhm.
But it's only reinforcement.
Right. It is.
Because they sometimes slip a little back
Yes,
away
sir.
from your teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't keep it out there in front of you, you might forget. And they say if you don't lose it, what? I mean, if you don't use it,
You lose
it. Exactly right. And we cannot afford at this day and time
To lose.
anything
Exactly.
that is given to us under the teachings and guidance of the messenger.
Yes, sir.
On my right, your left, we have a board up here. We call it the actual facts
Facts
board.
board.
Why? Because everything on it deals with actual facts.
facts.
I know we've been in a situation in this atmosphere outside of these doors that it don't matter whether it's real or not real.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody said it, they say, well, they said it, I take it, I go along with it. But we want to be exact, and we want to be right.
You're right.
And the information that we give out,
Mm-hmm.
and the information that you take in.
Exactly.
So let me go to this board for just for a few moments
Yes,
to
sir.
give you a little bit of these teachings on this board.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
So you notice there's two world orders on this board. And if
Right.
you don't know it's two world orders, I'm going to tell you what they are. One is the world of Christianity.
Yes.
Most of us have dealt in that world
Mm-hmm.
and are well acquainted with the goings-ons
In that way.
of that world
Yes, sir.
because we are living in that world.
True.
But keep in mind, we may be in it, but we're not of it.
Not of it.
We used to be, but not anymore.
Not
Why?
anymore.
Because the teachings that Almighty God's messenger has given us in relationship to this world has given us notice that we don't want to be there.
Right.
We don't want to be there. Why? Because all they got over here for black folk is suffering, slavery, and death. And if you don't believe it, take the moment just to read the newspaper.
Yeah. Look at
Look
TV.
at the news on your TV.
Yes.
How much good stuff do you hear about?
Very little.
Not much. Because the emphasis is placed on the things that's not good. It's negativity. And if you're being bombarded with negative thoughts, activities, words coming to you, guess what?
You will
You'll
be.
pick up on it too. Why? Because we be associating with them. So let the thing last get out of your mind or get in it. Be something positive. This side of the world,
The board.
yeah, it's bored. Because there are two world orders here.
That's right.
This side deals with white people. Oh no, here y'all come talking about white people. What about the Chinese man, and the Arab man, the Spain man, the Puerto Rican man, the Dominican Republic man, the Chinese man? What about all these other men? Why y'all emphasize so much on white people? Because we teach that there's only two people on the planet.
Right.
One is black, and the other is white. And those that have got a little color on them, they belong to the black family.
Right.
So, and why you think Hitler was trying to make sure he could get as pure white as he could get? Because he knew the deal.
He knew.
You know, they didn't want no, what they call Semitic people, which are mixed,
Right.
black and white. Or Semite half and half. Or Semitic that's got a whole bunch of this and a little bit of that.
Right.
They wanted a pure Aryan race.
Mhm.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
They still do.
Just like the Quran speaks of. They talk about the blue-eyed one.
They're
Which is a
guilty.
good one for you, brothers and sisters.
They're guilty.
You might look at it, oh, she sure is pretty.
Guilty.
Yeah, that's the attraction for you.
Mm.
Come on, get some of this because we got something for you.
Mhm.
But this side of the board, we talk about the United States most often
Mhm.
because this is where we reside, in the United States of America.
Right.
Freedom and justice for all, except you. According to that's fact. Because you were not brought here to get any of that freedom, justice, and equality that they have for themselves. You were brought here to work.
Right.
Some people say, well, I'm not interested in that old slave history. You don't know where you come from.
You're still part of it.
You better get with it. You don't know where you come from. You end up where you don't want to be.
Exactly.
Repeating that history again.
True.
And oftentimes today, brothers and sisters, we find that we are doing just that because we don't want to do what the messenger has told us we need to do in this day and time.
Right.
And that's do something for the benefit of self.
Self.
Let me touch on this a little bit. Red, white, and blue, stars and stripes, they say. Old glory.
Oh,
You've
hell.
heard the expression to a black man, it has been nothing but old hell.
Exactly.
Now you're going to say, well, I'm doing right good in it. Well, maybe you is doing right good.
Maybe you think you are.
But the man in the book says, in as much as you haven't done it to the least of mine, you ain't did it for me. So we cannot climb any higher than the weakest of us, or as they say, the weakest link in the chain. Red, white, and blue is the colors of the flag. We gave them that flag, even though they don't. It's the old Bessie Ross sold this. No, but the relevance of this is what we gave. The red represents freedom. The white represents the people. The blue, the messenger teacher, represents falsehood. And all of these stars represent each one of the 50 states that they doing their thing in. Which one can you, black man and woman, go and get some justice?
None.
Nobody must know where to go, huh? Ain't nobody saying nothing.
Nowhere to go.
Maybe you can get it in the church.
No. Slave
Huh?
stuff.
That's where Jesus was, they tell you.
They kill him. Huh?
Yeah. Brothers, they kill him. The cross represents the Christian doctrine or the Christian religion. It has not been good for us, even though we grabbed hold to it, hoping we can get something good out of it.
Wishing and
We
hoping.
pray to Jesus all the time, who they claim and tell us was the Son of God. And what God would send his son to be killed or sacrifice him to save
A wicked,
a wicked,
non-repentant.
That brother said, none repent. They don't give a damn
About
God.
They sure don't.
Speaking. Because
Brothers
if they
on
did,
down.
they wouldn't be committing all the atrocity acts that they commit.
Yeah.
If you were worried about what God was going to do to you, as they say, after you die, when you're trying to be good while you live, you would. But he ain't concerned about that because he knows there is no physical life
After death.
after a physical death. But he don't want you to believe anything other than that. So he tell you you be good while you live. You gotta play. In my Father's house, they teach you.
Yeah.
There are many mansions. You ain't gonna find yourself in none of them. Because he ain't talking about something after you physically.
No.
He talking about what he enjoying while he
While
lives.
he lives.
And he ain't trying to give you none of that, but you can come on in and be a servant to him.
To him.
You seen Django.
Mm-hmm.
He was in rhythm and correct, putting down that stuff, laying out the table for the white man.
Mhm.
And they carry on conversations in some of these movies as if the black man was not even standing.
Not even there at all.
They don't care nothing about you.
Mm-mm.
But we've grown to love them, haven't
Mm-hmm.
we? Let them go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let them go.
Quick.
His religion, Christianity, has been the religion that has conquered every people on the planet.
Mhm.
They said they subdued, conquered
9
9/10
tenths of the planet Earth.
Everywhere you go, you find white people have now gone there and created some type of disturbance.
Yeah, always.
And that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot live, as we found,
In peace.
in peace with anybody,
Not their own.
even them own selves.
That's right.
Even though what America and Germany having a war, America and Russia having
Having
a
a
war,
war.
all of them are white folk people.
Yeah.
They
White.
can't get along with each other.
White
You
on
know
white.
they ain't caring nothing about you.
Mm-mm.
Huh? This little brother hanging on the tree is a representation of what happened to you
Mhm.
a long time ago,
Yeah.
physically,
Right.
and still happening to you mentally.
Today.
We go to school, now we can read, right? But it used to kill you if they caught you reading.
Mm.
Now you can go to school, get a so-called good education,
Mm-hmm.
and do what?
Nothing.
Go to work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's part of the slave program. I
Right.
give you some education so you can run things for me while I lay back on the beach and drink Kool-Aid.
Great.
Drink Kool-Aid. You know, but they really like alcohol.
Yeah, really.
But they, you know, you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Slavery, suffering, and death is the death deal of the day for the black man and woman.
Yes, it
in the
is.
hills of North America.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't believe that. Oh, I like white people. I ain't got a problem with you liking white people.
They don't like
But
you.
I got a problem with you not knowing who white people are.
Yeah.
So if you know who it is, you won't be hollering, well, yeah, I love white people. I love everybody.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be hanging that cross around your neck or in your mind either
Right.
if you know what it really was all about.
Exactly.
Constantine said, under this summer,
We shall conquer.
Every time they land on the shore of somebody's land, they poke that junk in the ground.
In the name
and
of
they
the
claim
King
it for themselves.
and the Queen.
They come to your house and stick it in your yard. He said, with this man, then what you gonna say?
Uh-huh.
You gonna be a little resistant to that, aren't you?
Yeah, it should be.
You should be. But that's what they do all over the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
When we jump to the other side of the board, and in between these two, Christianity and Islam, the question is which one will survive the war of Armageddon? And most of us believing, because their teachings, is that Armageddon is a war that's coming down the road somewhere in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And they want you to believe that.
Mm.
And you thinking it's going to be shooting and killing,
Mm-hmm.
just like they always been doing when it comes to war.
Ain't
But
nothing new.
Allah got a better plan.
Yes, sir.
Allah sneaks in the back door
Deep in the night.
while they laying in the bed sleep,
Uh-huh.
not even know nothing going on. Next thing you know, economic conditions change.
Yeah.
Power is being lost by white people.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of brown, yellow, red people.
Rise it up.
That's right, rising on up.
Uh-huh.
They used to be looking up as zombies. Now the zombies taking over. These are black people who are coming up because there's a changing of the guard going on.
Yeah. Dark.
So when you come on over this side of the board, you start learning about a new religion,
Mm-hmm.
one that white folks knew about, but didn't want you to have anything to do with
They
it.
hid it.
Because prophecy said there would be one coming who gonna bring about a change
Yeah.
in the religion.
Yes, sir.
You know, they thought that was Moses.
Uh-uh.
Moses was not the one.
Uh-uh.
He ain't come talking about I'm getting you something new.
Uh-uh.
No, only Elijah Muhammad with his God, Almighty God, Allah, Master Farad Muhammad in person is bringing about a new religion that has not been exposed on the planet before.
Right. New
That's what
Islam.
they claim, ain't it?
The new
Not
Islam.
before on the planet, not before. Let me do a preacher thing right
The new Islam.
because our air's off right now. This flag was given to us in 1930
Mhm.
by Almighty God Himself. Not a spook God,
No.
not a spirit, nothing coming out of the heaven on a cloud like they talk about. Because if it was on the cloud, there better be resistance to gravity, otherwise it's going to fall to the earth.
You go.
But a man in person. As prophecy said, everybody would see him as he is. And as he is didn't just mean the physical him.
No.
It meant the business that he would be handling too.
The reality
You
of
understand?
his works.
Dealing in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Giving a lost found people here in the hills of North America, formerly known as Negroes.
Mm.
Then we got the name Black.
Mm-hmm.
Then we came colored
Colors,
first.
yeah.
And then we got the name
African.
Black. Then they call them African Americans, and tomorrow they may have a whole new name for them altogether. But Allah gave them a new name.
Right.
They call them Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
All praises due to Allah. The sun, moon, and stars. The red represents freedom.
Mhm.
Everybody wants some of it.
Yeah.
It's natural to the universe.
Yes, it is.
We ain't had much of it, but we're getting to experience some of it now.
Yes, we
And
are.
it's starting in our heads.
Yes,
So
sir.
there's a thing called about the dead arising.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting about no physical grave, but
No.
the information that's being put into us is creating a new earth.
Yes, it
and
is.
New people on the earth.
Right.
And they're called Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Muslim is the one who wants for his brother what
He wants for himself.
That means what? We're going to be dealing in some equality.
Equality. Freedom.
It's only amongst those who accept this.
Right.
You know, there are going to be ours who don't want to be bothered with this because they like it over here. They can have that over there.
Have all of
Because
it.
if you come over here and drink some of this water,
Mm.
you don't want none of that no
Yeah,
more.
don't go back over.
You understand?
Nothing. That's right.
The moon
Mhm.
represents equality. Well, you know you've been trying to get it all these years. You're
Mhm.
marching for it. You're sitting in for
Yeah.
it. You're trying to vote it in.
Yeah.
But you ain't been getting none.
Can't get it.
But you've been trying to get the equality with your open enemy.
Enemy.
And he ain't trying to let you be equal to him.
Mm.
What your servant look like being equal to you in your house?
He's the master.
You want the servant, go get your own house.
Mm-hmm.
You can be equal over there, but you can't be equal over here.
Not his house.
Equality. Now we say the moon, half moon. You know, the moon was at one time a part of the
Of the
earth.
planet Earth. Yes.
But they don't teach you that in the schools.
No.
They teach you that some planet come along and collided with the earth, knocked a piece off, coalesced and made a moon. It
Not.
didn't happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they call these people ancient alien theorists.
Mm-hmm.
They got a whole bunch of ideas how stuff happened to.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen like that either.
Sure
They
did.
give all the credit to everything on the planet that's good to some aliens.
Yes.
And then they give some of the history back 10, 15,000 years.
Hmm.
Yet we teach the earth is way, way older than that. And
Tree.
they teach that the earth ain't been around but for, 4.8 billion years.
Hmm.
No, that's one drop of sand
Yeah.
in our time.
In our time. Right.
The star
Mm-hmm.
represents justice. And the beautiful thing about the star having 5 points, it represents the 5 senses of man.
Man.
The thing how you justify and measure everything around you.
Right.
You know, your sight, your hearing, your feel, your touch, your smell.
Mhm.
These are the things that let you know something is going on.
True. Mm-hmm.
Justice,
Yes, sir.
you know. Our flag is the flag of the religion that's been introduced to the black man and woman here in the hills of North America. So, but that's a Muslim flag. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
But it ain't that old Muslim flag.
No.
You see, that old one got a moon on the other side.
We
It
got.
represents a moon in its last quarter,
Mhm.
which means whatever it brought and whatever it teaches
It's all over.
is going away.
It's
It's
going
like tides ebbing and flowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going on out.
Right.
This
Coming
is
in.
tide coming on in,
Coming on in.
giving us a brand new religion. We call it and refer to it as the new Islam.
New
We
Islam.
can change the Islam part,
Mm.
or we can change from the old Islam to the new
To the new Islam.
Why? Because it's a brand new teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it's designed just for you, black man and woman.
Yes, sir.
All praises to Allah. White folk want some of this too.
Yeah.
And some of our black folk letting them have some.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just letting the enemy in where he shouldn't be.
That's true.
So those who admire those who let him in,
Shame
you
on you.
don't admire me, join them if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want.
We don't want.
We don't want no parts of it.
True.
Because the real isms of is now for black people only,
Only.
and people of color. The message even lists the people who we can even let come into the temple.
Right.
And ain't none of them white.
None of them.
All right?
Mhm.
Today we're going to be talking about
Mm-hmm.
land and of our own and qualifications.
Right.
Yeah, we all want some land, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
But we're not talking about just having a lot to build a house on or
No.
put some food in the ground.
No, sir.
We're talking about land for our nation.
Exactly.
Because this is what black people are under the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
Under this flag of Islam.
Right.
We are a nation. It was announced to us when we got the flag in 1930 by
Right.
God himself.
He did.
Some of us don't believe that. Personally, I don't care whether they believe it or not.
It's the truth.
But if you want what we gonna have,
You
and
gotta
what
have.
we having, you better get with it. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Yes, sir.
Land and qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
The land is available.
Yes.
The qualifications are being made, and the devil himself is qualifying a lot of our people to do what's necessary to build our own society, to build our own government
Right.
under the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
That's what we want. Because that's going to be heaven on earth for us, black men.
While we live.
Heaven on earth. Our speaker today is our minister, Brother Kamau Islam. Very studious brother. Been around a long time studying these teachings. He's one of the few brothers that you heard me say before who can tell you a certain thing about what the message says and then tell you exactly where to go find it. And you go there and find it, and you have to bear witness that the brother know what he's talking about. We say all praises due to a brother who can do that for us. We look at him, he's real studious, so we try to be studious too. Why?
Yes,
Because
sir.
we're trying to emulate him. He's
Yeah.
trying to emulate the messenger.
Yes, sir.
We're trying to follow suit.
Right.
The sooner the messenger is the path he walked. The path he walked being the sooner the messenger is the path we want to walk.
Yes, sir.
We say all praises due to Allah. This is Brother Minister Kamau Islam. He'll be coming up in just a second to take us deeper into these teachings. Our teachings this week comes out of the book Message to the Black Man in America.
Yes, sir.
And it talks about the unity of 22 million. Now, the book said 22 million. This was in 1965 that the book was published.
Well, over
But
60
this is
million.
2018.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they say about black folk, we don't die.
We multiply. Yes, sir.
So we probably 30, 40, 50, 60 million people today.
Yes, sir.
So without further ado, let's have him come out and take us deeper into these teachings. And I'll leave you as I read in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Again, we thank Brother Secretary Hakeem Muhammad for bringing forth the life-giving teachings of Islam as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Messenger of Allah. So let's once again give him another well-deserved round of applause. This was created temple under the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad should be teaching from that which Allah laid as a base foundation, given it to his messenger, so his messenger could in turn give it to us.
Yes, sir.
Actual facts, knowledge of Armageddon, knowledge of our way of life, freedom, justice, equality, and of the devil's death style, slavery, suffering, and death. So, once again, we open in the name of Allah, who came in person, Master Farah Muhammad, to whom all holy praises I do forever. And in the name of his last and greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we greet the beloved brothers and sisters once again in the nation's greetings of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
This is indeed a very enlightened subject.
Yes, sir.
It's the Allah coming from the honorable Elijah Muhammad. Land of our own and qualifications. Most people know basically what land is because we walk around on land every day.
That's right.
That's the knowledge of it. But what's the wisdom of knowing about land? And what's the understanding of what we do with land? Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us the math and the science of the importance of land and how we are to qualify so that when we get land, we'll know how to properly utilize the land that we receive.
Right.
In the science world, the devil has a basic definition that works with all civilized societies of the earth. When he talks about something having value or weight, he includes matter in that. And when you define matter, they state basically matter is anything that has weight and takes up space.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going back before we look at land as we see it today. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Allah in the very beginning, he navigated matter, organized matter, and put it into a form whereas it could serve him and all who came after him. Matter is anything that has weight, takes up space. Then we also learn about matter. Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It's going to always be here. But by the fact that it can neither be created nor destroyed, it takes somebody who knows how to, for use of a better word,
Manipulate.
That's
right. That's
matter.
right. Yes, sir.
Not when the devil said playing a toy with, no, but to shape, to form, and to fashion matter in a manner in which it can be of service to civilized societies of people.
That's right.
That's how you manipulate. Who can manipulate matter except that there has to be not a spook, not a spirit, not a ghost, but who? A man.
Person,
the
that's
first
right.
part of manipulate is M-A-N, the original man. So when you look at our planet Earth, when you look at how civilized societies get up and running, we measure everything from the science of the study of matter. Mr. Muhammad taught on it in 1972, the theology of time, the God study of time. He took us all the way back to not just the basic definition of time, because we usually say, well, time is motion. That's good. But he took us back to the fact that time is a proper calculation of motion. Meaning you got to know how to take this matter after you have manipulated it. And if you move it throughout the vast creation, you have to be able to pinpoint at what point in time the matter has a value from point A to point B. The devil even got a definition in the dictionary. I've looked at the definition of time. He says time is the measurable extent of duration. Meaning, how can you calculate from this point to this point? How long did it take to go from here to here? So teaches down Elijah Muhammad. So you have calculated time. We know when we look at the heavenly bodies that float through creation, particularly our sun, that all of the planets revolve around the 9. But we couldn't measure, so now Muhammad teaches us anything in the universe in the very beginning until we started getting things up and running. He said we can do it now. He says now we can measure the diameter in the creation. But how can you measure the diameter of anything until you first learn something about what? The circumference of that thing. Not just the heavenly body, but also the track of motion that the heavenly body takes around another heavenly body. And we call that the orbit. So when you want to know something about the orbit of a planet or any star, something like that, you got to know where it starts, how far it is away from another heavenly body, and when it goes around the other heavenly body, then you can say the sun and the earth, we are what? 93 million miles apart. So that means on this side of the sun, the earth is 93 million. You go around the sun, 93 million. So how can you find the diameter of that orbit? You cut straight through. This is the sun, and you say from here on across. 93 twice is what? 186. Then we got a mathematical formula. You take that 186 and multiply that by pi, 3.14. And that will give you the circumference orbit of the traveling of that heavenly body. We're not even talking about just the object itself. We're talking about the orbit of the object. So everything starts from matter and knowing how to properly navigate and deal with matter. Now, the importance of land. Land is matter in a stable form, right? Now, matter's out here, they won't call this matter that we waving through here land, right? But it's matter. But when matter takes on a certain shape, like what happened over there in Hawaii, and when pressure is applied to the matter, what happens? It's a shaking and a rumbling first, and then poof. What we call that? Lava. Molten rock. Shot up in the air, came on back down to what was land. And it still is lumps of it sitting all across the highways, all across Hawaii. And they say if they want to build something, they have to build around the rock. It's too much rock there for you try to chip it up and grind it to finely grind particles. You try to get it out the way. It's going to stay there. That matter moved on over to the ocean. They talked about it on the news, on the Weather Channel. They said now it's shot up in the air and it's landed over in the water. And when it hit the water, more explosions. So what happened, they said when it hit the water, it poofed up like powder up in the sky through the atmosphere. And then they said after all that happened, it started coming back down to the land, to the earth. What happened? It came back in crystal form. They said, look, what's that? Look at fine pieces of what? Glass. Right. So they said you couldn't breathe it because if it would get into your system, it could cause internal bleed. So it shows you there's a science to everything in life. Now the message is not talking about going out here and making no experiments with that. But he's saying we need to get some land so we can understand the value of the land so that when we build a nation, we won't give it up. What do nations fight over? Land. That's right. And what else? Resources. They know the value of both, the land and the resource. The message says when we get land, we don't want no any kind of land.
No, sir.
We want land that's what?
Rich and fertile, that's right.
And minerally rich. So now he's telling us what we got to do to get the land. We got to unify.
That's right.
The unity of 22 million back then. As Brother Secretary mentioned, now we're talking about 60 plus million and growing. But the message says then that unity up from slavery is the answer to our salvation. We are suffering untold torture and murder at the hands of our enemies. Who are them? Who are the enemies? The children of our slave masters, white people. Why? Because of the lack of unity. History that we can read and study and research about people around the world. Here's a little man over in something called a Korean peninsula. He's got enemies close by, and he's got a big old enemy sitting over here called the United States of America. He's not that fond of China because he knows the history of how they attacked him and his people. He's not that fond of his brothers in South Korea because he knows they're puppets for the United States of America. He's not too fond of the Japanese because he knows they're friends of the USA. So he says that he needs something to secure his land. So he thought that the best way he could go was get a nuclear program
power.
to
That's
make
right.
them back off.
Right.
You know? And then
Self-defense.
in sight of that, America is afraid of him, even though he's a small country.
Right.
Because he got something similar to what they got. Maybe not as much,
Right.
but some of what they got. And then when he goes to try to talk peace with the big bad wolf, the United States of America, it seems like they're going to have a conference, and then some dummy in America said, well, we're going to use the Libyan model. And he said, hey, wait a minute. You mean you can do us like y'all did Gaddafi?
Yeah.
You can trick him and make him give up his weapons, and then you can come and drop bombs and kill
Exactly right.
and
Yes,
turn
sir.
his country up and kill him.
That's right.
He said, we ain't going for that.
No, sir.
So Trump didn't say it at first, but two of his sidekicks started talking about the Libyan model.
Yes.
Mhm.
And then the guy, he said, I don't know about this. And Trump said, I'm going to beat him to the gun. Let's call it off. Then after Trump called it off, somebody got in Trump's ear. He said, maybe we should have put it back on.
Mm.
So he flip-flopping all over the place.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, it shows you people value land and resources.
Right.
And they don't give it up without a fight.
That's right.
So the Honorable Dr. Muhammad says before we can get anything black land, we have to have unity of self and kind. Not with the open enemy, but self and kind. He states that not just a few of us, but the unity of all of us. He says, the cause of this lack of unity among us is due to the work and teaching of our enemies, the slave masters' children. Our slave master children have reared our fathers and mothers to be enemies of each other.
That's right.
That's a bad thing to do.
Mhm.
To be enemies of yourself, not of your enemies, but to be enemies of your brothers and your sisters.
Yes, sir.
The saying we had people years ago just said, it's supposed to educate people. I've got mine. You've got yours to get.
That's right.
They didn't have theirs. They were only paid to try to teach us into a better way of life. And they were so impatient with the children that they were trying to teach. And they turned against the children at the benefit of the white race. Some of them said, what? We don't need to be doing what we're doing to help our people. They had a cartoon in one of the older Muhammad Speaks papers. Negro was sitting around reading Muhammad Speaks newspaper. Coffee table, got the liquor on the table.
Right.
White man, the so-called Negro got his living room plastered with degrees and everything else. They must have been discussing the plight of our people in America. And one Negro said, you know what? I'm not at all concerned about the plight of the black man in America. He said, I'll tell you why. Because I've got my degree. Now I feel whiter than white. Remember how people have that attitude, you know? But they thought that was going to take them where they needed to go. But a few years ago, the message said white folks were arguing with each other in Washington, D.C., in the Congress, because they were setting aside funds for Howard University, the black school up there in Washington.
Yes.
One devil said, we might do something for the so-called Negro, but three things we won't do for the so-called Negro. We won't appropriate money to teach him the science of chemistry, the science of warfare, nor the science of birth control.
That's right.
So what was this devil saying? Why do you need chemistry? Because you got to know the element chart, and you got to know the values of the various things in matter, particularly in the land, not only the land, but also the atmosphere. What can you extract out of the atmosphere to benefit you and your nation? Can you harness the atom for your own self and kind? But the white man got the theft of this knowledge from their white brothers who had already stolen it from our people.
That's right.
They're called Jews.
Yeah.
The white man who was in Germany, he took what he could from them, and then he thought he had all he needed. He ready to annihilate all of them. But the few that remained, they were split up between two groups of white folks. One group of white folks over there in the eastern part of the world called the Soviets. They got a lot of Jews over there under the Russian Empire now. Used to be the Soviet Union. They helped those white folks get up and run. The other white folks came over to New York and set up all kinds of stuff over here for the American white people. Some of us saw the movie called Hidden Figures. The white boy, who was the Jew heading the space program, he wanted to know why was Russia so far ahead of the United States of America. That's before Kennedy set up that stuff and said, let's catch up with the Russians. Put this stuff in the school system and said, teach the children how to learn about space so America could catch up with the Soviet Union. But this showed a simple basic thing in that movie that the Russians were doing that the Americans were not. The Russians, all of them are evil, but they were not as prejudiced and low down and discriminatory as the Americans. The poor sister had to run a half a mile to go to the restroom to get there, and then after take care of business, she had to run a half a mile to get back to work on her figures. Mm-hmm. So Jew boy want to know where you at. Every time I'm looking for you, you gone. So she told him, I got to take care of my needs. Now I got to run all the way down here to this to take care of it, and then come on back here and do all the work you expect me to do. So the white boy, the Jew, said, he went on to the hall. You saw the movie. He took something and the restroom sign, it said for white only. He knocked the sign down. He said from here on in, anybody got to take care of their needs, you go here. You got to run a half a mile one way and come back the other way. Because he wasn't concerned about you messing on yourself or nothing. He was concerned about what? You being there to take care of your work. So what? America could try to get ahead of the Soviet Union. So when he did that, America began to come up a little bit with her space program. Russia set up something called a bunch of cosmonauts, right? They said, we look at not just the solar system and the 9 planets, but say we look at the whole place. It's called the cosmos. America was a little narrow-minded, and they set up something called what? Astronauts. Because they couldn't see beyond what they call the asteroid belt. And that's what a few 4 planets are sitting inside of the belt, and the rest of them on the other side. And then you can extend further out beyond the reach of the sun. But all of this shows you, if a people have a knowledge of land, science, chemistry, physics, and everything else, and when they unify, they're already on the road of qualifying, knowing what to do with the land.
Right.
What do you do if you got some land that's sitting out here, got pine trees on it? If you got some knowledge of science, you might learn how to make pine saw. Everybody like to use pine saw to clean their clothes, right? Or something. Wash down different walls or whatever. The white man said, no, we're not going to teach the black man anything about chemistry. They was happy to even take what George Washington called the black man who discovered things with the peanut and all that stuff. So they took all of the formulas and stuff he had, and they got the benefit of it. Who made the Skippy and the Jiffy peanut butter?
They did.
They did. He even took the poor sister who developed the morning breakfast pancake, put her image on the box, Aunt Jemima, and white folks got the business behind Aunt Jemima pancakes, right? Same way with the brother. They got him on as serving it. Uncle Ben.
That's right.
And everybody said, I ain't eat no rice unless I eat Uncle Ben's rice. Tastes the best. Clothing. The brother who did what? Discovered the cotton gin. Who gets the benefit? Eli Whitney. All of these things because our people don't qualify themselves, but we have to qualify ourselves so that we get land, we know what to do with the land we get. The message says, because we have a lack of love for self and kind, keeps us divided. And being divided, we are a nation of prey at the hands of our ever-open enemies. Just think of that. A nation of prey. So, not just one or two, but a whole nation where the people can just feast off of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the scripture says, if you're looking for them, where will you find this carcass? Wherever the eagles are gathered,
that's right.
There you'll find the carcass. Mm-hmm. The old, dead, decayed body, laying somewhere where the birds of prey are just plucking on them, picking on them,
that's right.
and feeding themselves and keeping us deaf, dumb, and blind. The message goes on to state, whatever the amount of education we receive from our enemies, we are still the slaves of our enemies due to this lack of knowledge of self, God, and the devil. We don't know the true religion. We don't have self-pride. We don't have interest in self. We don't have self-independence. And we don't have the desire of a country and a government of our own under the law of justice and righteousness for every one of our poor black people throughout the earth. Now, this senator, congressman, whoever he was, argued back and forth in Washington, D.C. Reg Muhammad says from 1922 or 23. He told the other one, yeah, you can set aside some money for those so-called Negroes coming up from the South, chattel slavery. But don't you dare let them know anything about chemistry, physics, all these sciences. What about warfare? Well, our people say, man, I know about warfare. I served World War I, II. I got my cousins serving in Vietnam, Korea. No, oh, you just put on a monkey suit and went over there and did whatever the white man told you to do. Shoot this one, kill this one. But you don't know about warfare.
No, sir.
Warfare, one of the main things about warfare is what? Self-defense. Not defending for your enemy, but protecting your own self and your own kind. That's warfare, the first part of it. But if you don't know the first law of nature, which is what? Self-preservation. How can you say you walk around the world in a monkey suit and go to Germany, Japan, or anywhere else to fight for white folks, and you don't know the science of self-preservation?
You can't get no benefit.
Even the man that white folks put out here for our people to follow, he taught against self-preservation. What did he say? And they thought it was such a good slogan. Oh, you know, Dr. King said, if any blood be shed, let it be who?
Let it be
He said, ours. And the white man said, yeah, we know that because that's what we're going to do anyway. Shoot him, throw a brick up in his head, stab him, whatever you want to do. And he told his people who want to be in his movement, if you're not ready to let them spit on you, hit you, knock you down, do anything to physically abuse you, he said, then don't join this movement. And a lot of them said, we want freedom, but we ain't going that way.
That's right. So
a lot of them didn't get on the bus.
No.
You know, John Lewis was example probably where he never go over there. Crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge and white folks tried to beat him to a pulp. He's still not right. But it shows you our people don't know the value of land, we don't want to be qualified, and we don't want to unify with self and kind. Why? Because the message says we have been made a nation of prey. Whole nation that anybody can just swoop down on us and swoop back away. Neighborhood today, parents send the children to the Arab store or to the Korean store. Get cheated almost every time. Because they're going to take off a nickel or a few pennies and this and that. And the parent might think the child took the money. But these things over here could have took it. They always say, what? $1, decent debt. Nothing changed. They want the whole dollar. $2, $3, $4. That's how they are.
Yes, sir.
And one brother would tell us one day we were cleaning up in the street that he knew these things over here cheated him. I asked him a question. I said, if you know they cheat you, by how much did they cheat you? He didn't know. But he had a feeling of sense.
Yeah.
They didn't give us his correct change back. So that would be the point in time when he doesn't get down his mathematics and learn how to count, you know.
That's right.
From 1 to 10 and change and everything like that. But if we don't unify under what Messenger Muhammad teaches us, we will continue to be at a loss. Okay, what's the third one? We talked about the science of chemistry. Don't teach us that.
Mm-hmm.
They said don't teach us warfare, self-defense, and
Birth
don't teach
control.
us birth control. Okay. Now, many people when they hear the birth control, they thought about popping a pill. You know, but say if I just pop a pill, I'll be all right. No, birth control. This devil was talking about even before the devil got all this pill popping. This is back in the 1920s, before they got all these birth control clinics and this and that. He was talking about generation after generation of people learning how to do what? Improve themselves. Rich white folks do that with their little pets, right? So they said they just have a little pet dangling on a little string. Oh, he's pedigree. You know? We've had him in the family, and before him, you know, his mother produced him, or her mother produced her, or something like that. And these are the only kind of pets they want. They don't want no little street dog or little street cat. You know? They'll feed them the best of food, everything. Get a message coming, teach us how they live. You know. So how can you become a better person if the next generation is not groomed
That's right.
and disciplined in a way in which it can surpass the previous generation? Most of the people now, if you try to teach them discipline, they don't want no discipline.
Yes, sir.
Some of them have an attitude. I don't know, and I don't want to know.
That's right.
I don't care. I don't even want to care. But yet they say they want to live. So why walk through matter every day, space, back and forth to the store, lean on the corner, asking somebody what's happening, what it is. So you're just taking your body all throughout your familiar areas in the creation, doing nothing. From sun up to sundown. Sometimes they hang around the corner so much, even policemen tell them to move on. You know? And most of them, they ride around in the car. So how do they know you've been on that corner? Every time they turn around and come back on their beat, they see you still hanging on the same corner. So they said they have a right to tell you to move on, because you must be into something. You might not be into doing nothing. You just stand around doing nothing. You might not try to break in no store or nothing like this, because nothing is going on in the brain to tell you I should be about doing something.
That's right.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad goes on to state our poor people. He says, but let us start first here in America, where we are the victims of what? No freedom, no justice, and no equality. And we know the pains of being divided. He said present and present. We have hundreds of clubs and organizations, thousands of teachers, hundreds of educators, scholars, scientists, technicians, doctors, lawyers, judges, congressmen, ambassadors, professors, tradesmen of all kinds, and engineers amongst every kind. We have all kinds of religious believers, teachers, preachers by the thousands, agriculturists, herdsmen, and cattlemen, and fishermen, and hundreds of hunters of wild game. All these are possessed within the black nation and the hells of North America. But the message said, despite all of this, what do? We use all of our skills, efforts, talents,
That's right.
labor, and brain power to contribute to the civilization of our own enemy. One brother said years ago he had a teacher, and the teacher would tell the students, I know what to do, but I just got to wait on the man. And who would call the man? The white boy. In other words, he must have been some like an industrial arts teacher or something back then. The white folks were supervising so many of our people like they did in the church. The overseer was set up there to make sure the black preacher told it the way he wanted to tell it. And when he saw the black preacher got it down pat, the seat was still there, and they put a Negro as an overseer. But the white man said, they got this thing down pat. I got to go back to my church now, because I can leave them with confidence that they still going to count on the foolishness I told them to do.
That's right.
and they never do nothing for self and kind.
That's right.
The same way he does on the jobs today. They train the so-called Negro, HNIC, Brother mentioned. White folks leave us there to carry on while they go on on the beach.
That's right.
And drink their Bacardi rum, whatever they're doing, And then they can talk the affairs of business with so-and-so. Well, how's your business doing? Oh, we just brought 5 million this year. Oh, we probably kicked up to 7 million. Last time I checked the books, everything was in order, and we can see a greater margin of profit. Because I left old Charlie Smith over there, and he's the HNIC, and he makes sure that things run smooth.
Right.
I believe when I get back, we're going to make more profit while I'm gone than before I left. Because he impressed upon all of them to do it, work harder, so the master come back being sure we've been on the job.
Yeah.
Yes, sir? So it shows you how ignorant our people are about white folk. The message says, what more do we need but unity of the whole for the whole? What actually is preventing the unity of 22 million or more of us, what is doing this, is the ignorance and foolish love and fear of our enemies in the professional and leadership class of this nation of 22 million black people up from slavery.
Yes,
so he says it's not the average person. He says, but what? The ignorance and foolish love and fear of our enemies coming from the professional and leadership class. Venerable said today, I was looking last night a TV, I think it was a Canadian program on C-SPAN, and they had Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. He's good with white folks' words, and he can explain the ideas real good. Had a little chubby she-though, Jew girl, I guess she was pushing for what's called women's liberation, all this other stuff. Those were 2. Then had 2 on the other side. They spoke in the liberals, had the 2 white boys. Little white boy who sounded like had a British accent, he spoke in the conservative. They had another little skinny white boy from Canada, he spoke in the conservative. So they were back and forth as to what the problem is, that white folks shouldn't feel guilty about black people not advancing as we should advance. So Eric Dyson, he'll give the civil rights opinion. The little Jew girl, she gonna give the opinion that white women are being held back. So they just mix all that stuff in there. So the audience out there clapping for this and clapping for that. It's supposed to be a debate back and forth. Okay, so when it was all over, nothing has changed because the so-called right or far right, they keep their same opinion. The ones on the left, they gonna keep their same opinion. So-called Negro is like he's ducking and dodging to see which one would say something in his favor. He think they'll say something in his favor. And then the only thing he did is drive back and say, I think the Jew girl spoke on our behalf. I think Dr. Dyson said something good. But when it was all over, the same thing goes on and on and on. So the message says, these people who are holding us back, there are disgraceful Uncle Toms, many of them, in a world of freedom, learning, and advanced science in every branch of study. That's what they are. Here it is now. What's holding us back from many advanced science and study? The so-called Negro leadership. All they look for is a job. Are they trying to go down to Silicon Valley like the Japanese and the Chinese and Koreans and everybody else and make a mark for themselves? No. Say, just teach me how to plug on the computer. Like a brother said, we were up in Savior's Day in Connecticut last year. He said, he tell the guys, he said, don't be fascinated on trucking on little gadgets. Learn how to build them, make them. Learn how to build programs so you can put into these different gadgets. But our people are only fascinated on how to pluck them, but not knowing how to build them. So the message says, the world of disgraceful Uncle Toms. Then he goes on to say, how long shall we seek the white man's education to become their servants instead of becoming builders of a progressive nation of our own on some of this earth that we can call out.
Yes, sir.
Now people walk around on the earth, but they just want to what? Rent it from white folk. Or just use it because the white folks said we can use it. Why are you so foolish to think it cannot be done? Mr. Muhammad says, I have Allah and the world of the righteous on my side to accomplish this. Now, we are the original. Mr. Muhammad teaches us what? To clean up our bloodstream, to clean up our brains, to clean up our thought processes. We're not to be hog eaters. You got a half original man sitting over here on a big swat of land called a Chinese man. Ever since they opened up their doors to the West, and when Mao trained them and taught them how to build their own civilization, they came out of the gutters of what they call it now, Beijing.
Mm-hmm.
Back then they called it Peking. Same city, just got more people in it. But the white man had so much disrespect for those people, he wouldn't even listen carefully to what they said. What do you call your place? Beijing? White man said, well, we'll call it Peking. We'll eat Peking duck. I guess he's going to change it to Beijing duck because it's still eat Peking. He went over among the Buddhists over there in India. He got a great big old city over there. And years ago, the white man called that city Bombay. Bombay. Now the Indians, they don't learn to set up, but they got all kinds of military ingenuity. They are good mathematicians. They have their own nuclear program.
Mm-hmm.
Now when the white man go there and bow down to him, now he listened to what they called it at first. Oh, you did say Mumbai. How you getting Bombay out of Mumbai? It's the same city, there's more people. But this shows you he has no respect for nobody who's not trying to do anything for self-mankind. And he began to respect us under the guidance of Yahweh Muhammad. And he knew that the Arabs didn't deserve no respect, so he played with them all the time, even then. But those who followed the message teaching, the message said back in 1959, just before they got King up and running, the message came from Chicago. I think it got things set up on the East Coast and in the Midwest, came on down to Chicago, to Washington, D.C. on an airplane. What did the devils do? They escorted him from the airport to the Uline Arena, 1959. They said, Muhammad is coming to town. See, they hadn't even groomed Michael Lewis King Jr., but that's what they called Dr. Martin Luther King. But he was Michael Lewis King Jr. And white folks sent him up there to, up north to go to school. I think he made Coretta up there too. But they said, we got to train this boy. He's a Southern Black Baptist preacher. Mm-hmm. Let's put him in the head of the civil rights movement. So when he sent him up there, the one they called Martin Luther King, they trained him to study Martin Luther, the German, who argued with the Pope of Rome on the interpretations of the scripture, particularly the Revelation. Martin Luther wanted to be called the Pope, the dragon. The Pope thought they would expose him too much. So he argued with Martin Luther. So Martin Luther set up the Lutheran denomination of Christianity. Mm-hmm. And the Pope kept on with the Catholic. See, the Catholic is the mother church. And you got 666 different denominations coming out of the Catholic Church. And they're all over, like the Church of England. They broke away from the Catholics. They're over there on the British Island. And the Protestants are against what they call the Catholics, the Irish. The Irish, stuff like that. But anyway, Martin Luther fell in love with the German Martin Luther. So much so that he changed his so-called Negro Christian name from Martin Michael Lewis King Jr. to Martin Luther King Jr. King was always there, but from Michael Lewis to Martin Luther. And he got his daddy to do the same thing. Okay? But anyway, the devil had not gotten him up and running with the trick called integration. So he knew the 400 years was up in 1955. The wise devils got behind closed doors in 1954 and set this trick that they were going to spring on the people in 1955. We've seen even the devils have been documented in a little movie they show a lot about with driving Miss Daisy. You remember seeing it? And the Jew woman wanted her chauffeur to come, so she bought the tickets, and he said, "I'll drive you there. I got to do that. I'll do the job." But he sat outside of the car, and she went into the Jewish synagogue, and they had speakers on the outside blasting, and they had Martin Luther King's voice going over there, because the Jews, who were just as tricky as the rest of the white folk, they said, "Now it's time to put this big trick on the black people called what? Integration."
Right, some integration.
So when the chauffeur sat out there, he listened to it, and then when she came out there, she wanted to know, did he hear it? He had to hear the way the speaker was blasting. The only thing she wanted him to do is fall for the trick that the white race had put before us, knowing that the 400 years was up. It was time for us to have land of our own, the provocation, separation. But the white man was saying, "Stay with us so we can tribute some more." And then what happened later on? The Great Society. Lyndon Baines Johnson. He comes up with this thing called what? Anti-poverty program and the Great Society. White folks got into their law-making business, Congress and the Senate. They passed civil rights legislation, but it wasn't called that at first. The first bill they put out was called a public accommodations bill. Meaning what? We will allow the so-called Negroes to ride on the buses, maybe to sleep in the hotels, and a few things in the public, but not private. Because here recently, I remember the she-devil was on the news one day, and she was asking that Rand Paul, that's the son of the he-devil, Ron Paul, Rand Paul, and he said he still believes that when it comes to white folks' private business, they have a right to let whoever they want in, and whoever they don't want to come in, they're not going to let in. He said they still believe that for private purposes. But for public purposes, when it comes to the government itself, they said the government has relaxed the law, whereas in public areas, we can be admitted. That's public accommodations. But they tricked our people so much to think that a public accommodation was the same thing as a civil right. No, it's not. Because it means you can be accommodated certain places in public, but other places in the society you can't go. White folks did that for years, and Doug Wilder got upset. Commonwealth Club.
That's right.
But he said, "I ought to be able to go into the Commonwealth Club." And later on they said, "Well, does the boy think that if we can fool him and make him think he's with us, we'll go get him at the happen." But under normal circumstances, certain things we do, he won't be included. He will continue to be excluded. So our people still today don't understand what's happening. Land of our own qualification. The unity first comes, and then the message in the next section he will talk about how can we unite. Okay, now what's happening? He says, there is no hope for us in Christianity. It is a religion organized by the enemies, the white race, of the black nation, to enslave us to the white race's rule. But our unity under the crescent with our Allah's guidance can get us anything we desire in the way of help and some of this earth that we can call our own. When the message landed on that plane, the officials of Washington, D.C., and they didn't have no chocolate city in it, they were mostly white folk. They came up to the airport to escort the Army Muhammad off the plane on down one of the main avenues in Washington to the Uline Arena. 1959. So Muhammad is coming to town. And there were over 10,000 people at the Uline Arena to receive the Army Muhammad. Now you didn't have the trick of we should overcome marching and
None of that.
integration, Martin Luther Kingism and all this stuff. Because regardless of whatever the devil had tried to do in America to throw us off, he knows this is the one. He tested Marcus Garvey. Said, "Oh, that ain't the one." He tried to do something for his people from Jamaica. His father was working in a book factory or something. He learned a lot about reading and stuff like that. He ain't the one. Nor do I need. No, he's not the one. They gave him some benefits because I remember talking to one of the older brothers years ago. He said, yeah, he said, no, Drew Ali, he went down to Washington and they gave him a charter. I said, gave him a charter? Yeah, they gave him permission for we could set up in more signs, places in certain states across America. I said, all of them? No, some of them. But anyway, he was given permission by the white government to teach, you know. And I saw one time they had a picture of him in over Drew Ali Place. And the one that they had is different from the one that they came over with later. Some kind of way, either they killed him or something like that, and they brought up a fake Drew Ali. And then they had a picture of the black stone on the wall. And he was saying, yeah, the prophet Drew Ali told us that black is evil. I said, black is evil? I said, what's that right there? Oh, that's a black stone over there in Mecca. I said, that evil? No, I ain't mean it that way. He said all kind of crazy stuff. But anyway, it just shows you our people tried to do something, but they didn't have real reasoning and common sense in what they were trying to do. Dr. Martin, not Dr. Martin King, what's the brother's name? Who wrote the book? College Woodson. College Woodson thought the white folk was going to teach us right. Now, he came up back in the time of the 20s and stuff, but he wrote a book. I think the first book he wrote was in 1916. It was called The Education of the Negro, 1916. And he saw that what white folks was doing was screwing us. The message I already tell you from Allah teaching him, they're not educating us, they're training us to serve them. So when it dawned on Dr. Woodson as to what they were doing, he had to go back, pick up his pen, write another book. And the next book he wrote was about 1933. And then he wrote The Miseducation of the Negro. See, a lot of people know about the miseducation, but very few of our people know about the education of the Negro. Why was it necessary to become the second book? Because he was so disappointed what he saw happen after he wrote the first book. So the Honorable Muhammad says we need to know our history because history is well qualified to do what? Reward our research. We said this before we conclude. The unity of 22B. What do we unify around? People throw that word out there all the time. We want unity. We need unity. Well, we talked earlier that the scripture says, without vision, people perish. Meaning what? If you can't see, not just what you see through your eyes, but the thought process and everything that you need to enable your mind to bring forth the ideas that are going to make progress for you and your people. Without that kind of process, that's the vision we talk about. Without vision, people perish. Now he says for you to get vision, you got to have three things, right? You got to have hindsight. And then when you have hindsight, you will develop insight. And then when you got both of them, hindsight and insight, then the next step of progression will be what? Foresight. So you got to know the past, the present, and something about the future. But the so-called Negro has been blocked on all avenues from attaining any of this by the white race. When the white folks came to our people after the so-called Civil War, Richmond and other places, they set up something called what? What's that thing they call it? The carpetbaggers coming down from the north. And they know we loved education, but they know we didn't have a knowledge of self. So they came in the mix. They said the first school in Richmond was actually something that our people started for this Armstrong guy came down here. They just named the high school after him. But it started on the Jackson Ward area. Not only that, we got some documentation coming from the History Museum that the first banking institution was a house. The house is still standing up here in the Jackson Ward area. Before Maggie Walker did the St. Louis Penn State and later on the Consolidated Bank and Trust Company. But when white folks saw we were making efforts of our own, they jumped back into the mix to steer us away from self and back toward them. Not only in Richmond, they said there were 60 known settlements of our people across the United States of America that were notarized for progress we were making before the white man threw it in the trick. The first trick of integration didn't start back in the 60s, but he threw the first trick of integration back right after the Civil War. Told our people what? You can be in the politics, Charleston, South Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, all these places. And when the white boys up north backed up against the white boys down south, they had an election for the presidency. Tilden Hayes, they call him. One, there was about even in the votes between the white folks. So the white boy down the south said he didn't necessarily have to be the president of the country. He let Hayes be the president. I think Russell would be Hayes. Tilden backed out, but he compromised. He said, the main thing I want you to do is remove the federal troops out of the South. And I guess Hayes wanted to be president so bad, he said, I do it. The Negroes, I don't care what's the guy there who burned down the South. I don't care what Sherman promised the black man. See, what Sherman did, since they helped the white man up north with the rebels, then Sherman asked our people, what do y'all want? The Negro leadership said, we want 40 acres and a mule mouse. You got it. He took all the land that was on the coast of South Carolina and gave it to our people.
That's right.
Before he jumped on the ship and went back north. Sherman had an easy job of defeating these rebels. Then granted, he was no old drunk and said he was rolling around on the outskirts of Richmond before the black soldiers came in and took Richmond. They had to wait for the white man to come in there and march in front of the parade. Lee had to run across the bridge and burn down the city so the Yankees wouldn't drink the liquor. Probably Sherman, I mean, not Sherman, Grant. He probably won't he would get a case of liquor. But anyway, Lee ran on over to Petersburg, and I think, what's his name, Jefferson Davis, they said that Lee told him, we can't hold it. You better get out of Richmond. Jefferson Davis jumped on out of the Confederate White House, went on down to 14th Street, jumped on the train to Danville. And he said the only way he got on the train, he had to dress up in women's clothes, like a drag queen, to escape the Union soldiers. So anyway, Danville was a capital for a little while, and then he moved on up. You know. But the whole history that the devil has of his wickedness shows us both of them still have no respect for us. Even though Sherman did that to show the help that he got from the blacks with the Union Army to defeat the Confederacy. But then, right after he leaves, the rest of the white folks come back and just take the land.
Right.
And now they talking about it's Myrtle Beach time. Meaning what? White folks got the land now. They land on the beach next to land they done stole back from us that was given to our people for the war effort. So, if we know our history and how white folks trick us, why should we think that any white folk, whether he's a politician, a preacher, or anything else? Because the message said the professional class are disgraceful, a bunch of Uncle Toms, where we should be living in a world of freedom, we should be learning, and we should be advancing science in every branch of study. Japanese, after World War II, got their country back on track for themselves. Chinese, after Mao pulled them out the gutter of Peking, Beijing, he set up engineering schools where they build skyscrapers and throw them up just like that. They said they can get 2 cities as big as Philadelphia inside of a year. They can build them that fast. They call them ghost cities. Build them, nobody living in it, but you can move people out of the populated areas and put them in those cities. They can build 12, 14 lane highways. They can go and drop an anchor down into the ocean and build a mass of land, spread it out, large enough where you can even land airplanes for a landing strip. That's why America's so upset with us about a whole lot of stuff. But this shows you people value land. If you give us an inch, and that's why I was taught by the master, we're going to take more than a mile. Those who believe in the master teaching. But those handkerchief head, Uncle Tom Negroes, they don't want nothing for themselves. All they want, like the master said, he told someone who's sitting right there in the audience, he said, some of y'all don't want a nation of your own. All you want is what you can get from these white folks, which is nothing. The Savior already told you, you love the devil because the devil loves us not.
Right.
So in our conclusion, the unity of 22 million. University of Islam, you don't give it up. Wallace didn't see the value of it. He changed the name of it to some called Cloud Muhammad School. The Savior set up the University of Islam, meaning what? Founded on what?
Yeah.
Supreme wisdom,
Yeah.
knowledge, and understanding. You know, not no elementary school. The message says we go into the science of fractions and learn all about that because that's the base of our number system. But we don't do it right, we never get to understanding the base of the system because we don't understand the fractions. So it's very important that we do what Master Muhammad teaches us so we can have our own. That's all I'm saying.
Alaikum salam, sir.